We have with us tonight an amazingly talented artist. Most people, if you've never heard of her before, you're going to hear about her for the first time tonight. Hopefully you're going to fall in love with her work as much as I have. Artsoldier77, Kamora Jones is on right now. Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is quite
then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right, everybody. At this time, I would like to bring on our guest for the show, Kamora Jones, Artsoldier77. How are you tonight?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for not only accepting this weird bearded guy that just sends you a random message. It's like, would you like to come on and talk about your art? Okay.
It's great. It's great. I love talking about metaphysics and talking about different ideas, big picture stuff, creativity. Yeah, that's what I'm all about. So yeah, sounds great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
yeah.
You're welcome. Prior to the show, before we go on here, I was talking with her. The part that's amazing me is that there's one interview, and it's really surprised me because you have a story to tell, and we'll get into that here shortly. Everybody, to check her stuff out, you have Instagram, Twitter, Artsoldier77. And that's going to get you both. So follow her on that to see all this work. I think Austin's got a few of the pictures to show too as we go there. As you can see, images. She has some fantastic work. They're just not only just the way it's drawn, the coloring, everything is just. You have to see it. So go to Artsoldier77.com, or you can go to Society6. And that's the number 6.com/Artsoldier77, and you can see your work there, plus purchase it and have it sent to you so you can have it on your wall and love it as much as I do.
And Instagram was where a lot of us kind of congregate, a lot of the people who watch the work on the Artsoldier77 on Instagram. You can send me DMs, and if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll try to get back to you sometime in the next century,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, I can imagine you're busy. It's just not only, between being married, having your own graphic artist career, that's, having time to painting. You've done art since the age of 3, and you've really been into this. And I can tell you right now, you probably had more talent at the age of 3 than I do on some of my stuff. And it was when we were blown away with the graphic image she made just for the show to promote this. We're just like, oh my God. It's just how much is it going to take to retain her? Yeah.
How long does it take you to do that one for the promotion?
Oh, just like 5 minutes or something like that.
God, I wouldn't just looking. I still have Mother's Screen on Society6. I'm just looking like, I can't even imagine to design it. Like, even just the head alone, it would just be a blob. And it's just everything you did.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too about, and get with you, like with your art, what is it something that you just, because some people, they know what they're going to do ahead of time. Like they see the blank piece of paper and they already know what's coming. The famous sculptors knew this piece of marble, I can already see what this is going to happen. Is that what you see when you grab your graphite pencil in the paper and you start to go, do you already know what's on that page?
Well, it's like the old thing that, Michelangelo used to say, that he could see the form inside the rock, right? Inside the stone. It depends on the artist, right? For me, it's my sort of foray into art when I was very, very young was creativity, not necessarily like skill or theory. So I started off by imagining things in my mind and just like putting them down on paper. So whenever I get ready to draw something from like transmigration, I'm already sort of tuned into that frequency, to that creative frequency. And so for the most part, it's about what the theme of that particular image is about. And so I have a general idea of what the composition is going to be. But as I draw, the composition sort of fleshes itself out as well. Sometimes though, I have a trance technique that I use. That's sort of a proprietary technique that I got kind of after my experience, my experience in 2017. And it allows me to kind of focus in on void space, and then I can kind of pull something out of consciousness. And so in when I do that, I get a pretty good structure of what it's supposed to look like. But just as with any other illustration, it kind of reveals itself more as I draw and illustrate and color and design and such. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Yes.
And a lot of artists are like that. I mean, I try to tell a lot of artists, creativity. Yeah, I mean, theory is good, skill is good. You definitely need to have that, but it's really good to practice just sitting there with a piece of paper and nothing in front of you, and seeing what you can pull out from consciousness, seeing what you have inside of you. It's really, really important just to do that. Regardless of whether you're a visual artist or a writer, or a musician, or whatever. Yeah.
So that's. Yeah, I mean, have you always been drawn to more of the fluid, like almost geometrical style designs? Those smoother shapes. I mean, because it seems that you really have that, just where everything's like geometry is really prevalent in a lot.
Yeah,
of
I mean, some of the geometry that I end up compositing into the scenes is I'm using there's a program called Omni Geometry, and then I use like Adobe Illustrator, or I use like a couple other vector programs to get nice hard lines for the geometric pieces.
Nice.
But sometimes, sometimes I just draw them. Sometimes I just draw them out and refine them, like in Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint, whatever software I'm using. Everything starts with a sketch. So even if I do something rough, I'm going to refine it with with vector tools, or with with whatever I'm using to finalize the piece with. Yeah. But yeah, when I was in 5th grade and my teachers had me draw like some geometry, they were all blown away by it, and I'm like, why are you guys blown away by this geometry? It's just structure. I don't understand what the big deal was, but my teacher and the teacher's assistant and all the kids were like blown away by it, like in 5th grade when I was doing some geometric stuff, and they didn't get it. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm good at that. I guess, I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, I said I'm showing some people some of the work as you're talking there, and it's just, this is one of the ones, like this one I really like too.
So that one, integrating, is interesting because I did that one after my 3rd, what I'll call psychedelic experience. It was kind of psychedelic. And this is interesting because if you look at the download on the right side of the piece, that was kind of what I felt in my 3rd experience. I felt like there's this massive data structure that we're kind of a part of, and we're nodal, and we're connected to each other through this, kind of in a programmatic kind of way. Yeah.
And then somebody asks, I know you like paper and pencil. I know you like to do stuff like that too.
Yeah, so that one right there was drawn on paper with graphite first, and then I took it into Photoshop. I inverted the values, and then I added color on top of it. Yeah.
How good are you with a tattoo pen, like a tattoo gun?
I've thought about it. I have thought about it. I mean, a lot of people.
I'll be your first customer.
He'll fly to Vegas. He'll fly to Vegas there and just sit down in the chair right there.
I need some more different stuff. That'd be amazing. If I can get that a tattoo, oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean, people are always sending me photos of stuff they got tattooed from the work, and it's all good. I probably should train. I just haven't. I don't have a mentor. I need to get a mentor. There we go.
Well, there's a good tattoo parlor there in Vegas. I know there's some pros there, so that's a.
Definitely. Yeah.
So if I found a photo I like, I can take it to my tattoo artist, then she can do that?
Yeah. It's I even say it like in the description section of all the Instagram pieces. If you just look down, I know there's like a million things to read, but I say that anybody's welcome to use the pieces for tattoos. Yeah, of course.
That's amazing.
Have them trace it, and then have them draw on you. Yeah.
Because she does something like lately. She does stuff like that, and she's been doing like split head stuff, and she's like very fine detail. I'm like, all right, when I'm done with my ocean sleeve, I'm giving you a project. I know you're gonna love it. So that's awesome. Sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the way you said that, because that was one of the ones when I first discovered your work. We just did a show on the Akashic record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was kind of, I saw those pictures. I'm like, oh, this is just, it's like this entity is tapped into the Akashic record and it's downloading this information. And then and that's where, kind of on that one too, what do you call that, the entity in your work? Do you have you given it a name, or is it still just kind of like, that's part of the mystery of unlocking? You're going to get to that point.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say I see all the names everybody popping up, and I just want to say hi to all the people that are tuning in. How's it going? Love and respect. Yeah, so popularly, the all the symbols that you see, all the sort of structural symbols that you see coming off the beings, popularly that's called light language. And I learned about light language, I want to say like beginning of like 2017, late 2016. And it made sense to me because in my teenage years, I actually was kind of dabbling with some alien stuff in my teenage years, even though I was heavily into the Christian church. And I actually did some stuff like that. I have some pieces from back then that have that, sort of data structures kind of written out like that. But everybody calls it light language. That's what it's called in the metaphysical New Age communities, whatever. And I see it as that. But what it is to me is it's a way to express consciousness in the form of energetic structures. And so creatively, I see that as a way to draw energy communication. Yeah.
So take us back, let's go here. So were you and Violet married at the time when you had this first experience, or was this before?
Yeah. So the deal is that I grew up, first of all, I'll share this because I know you were asking. I'm identify as trans, which means a lot of things to me. It means something different to everyone. So basically, when I was very young, I was heavily into the Christian church. I got into the church when I was like, I don't know, like 10 or 11 or something like that. My mom and her whole family are from the South, so they'd always been in like the Baptist church and stuff like that. So basically, I got heavily into Bible study. I had a really great Sunday school teacher, and he started talking about spiritual concepts like the visions that Ezekiel had and the vision that Isaiah had. And then he started talking about, the Ephesians, the letter to the Ephesians that Paul wrote, and the armor of God, like explaining different aspects of Christian faith in accordance with pieces of armor, the shield of faith and the breastplate of righteousness, breastplate of righteousness. And those visuals that were embedded in that vision that Ezekiel had of the cherubim with the four heads, right? And the body, the eyes, and the four wings, right? That spoke to me as a young artist. I've been drawing and stuff. So that spoke to me. I wasn't really connected to too much else, but I was wondering, how the heck does this like spiritual realm thing work? Like, how does it work relative to the physical realm, and how does that exist? And does that coexist alongside, or is there some sort of, is it nonlinear where God can see the whole plan, based on what it is? And then when, people change things, that changes with it. So my sort of focus in on the spiritual things came from trying to understand how consciousness works, but through this very narrow Christian filter. And so years went by. I met my wife, I don't know, when I was, she was 22, 23 or whatever. We've been married for, 12 years now? So it'll be 12 years. And
congratulations.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we've been together for 12 years. We met in the church. I was really good friends with her grandfather. And then, and then we became, we kind of connected in the church. I wasn't out yet. I wasn't presenting or anything yet. But, about 2 years into, after we got married, we kind of got out of the church. I had a good friend who is an atheist who kind of gave me some good advice on just, hey, you could do this any kind of way you want to do this. You don't have to be so tied to religion. And so, time went by. We kind of got a lot more individualistic in what we thought about. She kind of developed her own ideas. I developed my own. But we had sort of core ideas when it came to how we thought about life. Come 2016, end of 2016, I was sort of at a crossroads with thinking about my career. And, I have a day job working for a design studio. And it's been really good for me. But I was just thinking about a lot of things. And this image started to come to me from my youth, this image of like ancient Egypt with like this really dark sky. And then there's this other image of this black man with this like white beard. And I didn't know if maybe I saw those in a movie when I was a kid, or if I saw, or if I saw it like some weird like VHS tape back in the day when I was a kid or something. I was born in '77, so I was around when the Betamax and VHS was a thing.
Yeah, that's 75.
And so
Yeah,
basically, 2000, I started getting these visions. I started getting interested in Akashic records and getting interested in past life regression, in near-death experiences. It just kind of came to me like it was like the universe was telling me, okay, since you're at this crossroads, let's explore who you really are. And so 2017, marijuana became legal here in Vegas. And my wife sort of suggested, I was looking into psychedelics. I was like, I got to do something. I've always been interested in trying to understand what the spiritual realm is. Like, how do we connect with higher consciousness? And so my wife's like, well, let's kind of experiment with weed. Maybe you can kind of get there through weed. And so I came across some information on, the psychoactive elements of weed edibles. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I can do that. I don't want to do anything illegal, so let me do that. And so what I would do is I'd come home from work, I would take a weed edible, and then I would draw. And that's how transmigration started, was just like that. It was connecting me to higher consciousness. And I was able to draw these images that I previously didn't have access to. But I had the foundation of my spiritual training, my spiritual understanding, through the Christian church. And so it was kind of converging, and it was all kind of make sense. Come Easter Sunday, 2017, we were eating edibles, and my wife made this really beautiful meal. And my friend, who had actually dabbled in actual like DMT and stuff, was there. And I went into this experience where, I saw my wife and I sort of as pixels of information. One of the scenes that I saw was like, it was like void. And then there were like, I was a pixel and she was a pixel, and we were sort of interacting with each other, like two components of consciousness. And then I had this other thing that I heard where I heard like my soul group, the people that I incarnated with. And I said this thing about how, you guys are stupid. I'm going to go be somebody. Like that's how I wanted to incarnate, and I remembered myself saying that. I had this connection with my dad. I had this connection with the cosmos. I saw this portal, which was probably some kind of portal that I used to get into this current, experience that I'm in right now. And then I had quite a few other experiences after that. My second experience was actually more related to, had more of an extraterrestrial kind of feel to it as well. So it's the information that I downloaded from that allowed me to actually develop transmigration into what it is that, that you see. And so what you see is more of an expression of how I process that information. Yeah,
that's incredible.
And my wife had her own experience too. Like she had an experience where she saw consciousness as like a point, herself as a point of consciousnness in the vast sea of everything, basically. Yeah,
that's incredible, because I said, and that's where we were talking prior to the show. Is just how you both can be in there in that moment. You can both feel the same thing going, and just how both of you can visualize it completely different. And you come away with it still having that life-altering, interaction. But you have two different complete stories, which is awesome. I mean, the way it is, just how beautiful that is. That everybody can have the same thing, but not everybody's experience is identical.
But she said this thing to me during the first experience. She came out and she said this thing to me. This one thing that she said, and it solidified the experience for me, as if her and I were on the same ride, basically. So I don't, use weed edibles that much, because whenever I do, I have a psychedelic experience. But yeah, I mean, her experience informed mine, and then those experiences, in conjunction with like my meditations and my sort of trance sessions that I do, sort of inform how I'm able to visualize what I'm able to visualize through the series. Yeah.
Ooh.
Go ahead.
Me next. No, it's like,
excuse me, sir.
Sorry, I'm talking a lot. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No. It's like point of order. I'm just might be me and selfish, but every time you seem to do it, you put out some amazing work. Take the edible.
Thank you. Yeah, integrating was interesting. That experience, but the problem with it is that my body doesn't like it, and so I have these anxiety attacks, and then don't
don't listen to Craig. That was bad advice from Craig. Craig.
So it's just one of those things where that's what I did because I didn't want to do anything illegal, and it helped. But I can get there through meditation, through deep meditation. So everything, most of the stuff you see that I put out is just through these little trance sessions that I have. That doesn't allow me, I don't have to do anything. I just sit down and I focus and let myself go. Yeah.
Now, I apologize if I butcher the name. You know, I think it's Floria.
Say the last name.
Yeah, what inspires you the most lately?
Lately, so what you'll notice with the current pieces is that some of them have more of a personal development kind of feel to them. So what I'm doing is, in conjunction with the energy that I'm feeling collectively, you know, coming from higher consciousness and coming from, you know, other people around me, I try to put a little bit of a, you know, personal spin in it. These beings that I draw, these higher dimensional beings, are trying to help humans evolve. They're trying to help humans, you know, raise consciousness collectively and individually. And so the idea is that, you know, if we can become better and more connected with ourselves, we can become more connected with each other, but we have to be willing to open up to that. And you have to, you as an individual, have to be willing to be honest. And I feel like, you know, with our politicians and with our leaders, I mean, some of them are so manipulative and not very honest about what their intentions are. And I think we continue to allow ourselves to dig a deeper hole for ourselves environmentally and, you know, mentally and otherwise, because we ourselves as the people are not being honest. And so what I believe is that spiritually, I believe that spirituality needs to be responsible. That's what I constantly say to my friends. Like, you know, religion needs to be responsible. You know, if religion can be responsible and be as responsible as, like, I don't know, say like a fairy tale or something like that, and metaphysics and new age philosophy, like if it can be responsible in that it helps people to grow, you know, definitively, like help people to, you know, kind of get up off their butts, and you don't have to do what you don't want to do. All we're asking you to do, all your guides, all higher consciousness, all your personal development is helping you to do is to be who you are. And that's at the core of it. And even in, you know, you look at something as, you know, kind of rigid as Christianity, you know, Christ is talking about individuality. Yep. And so I just kind of think that, so the current pieces are more about personal development and how you can get through your different portals. Your portals are your doors, your different roads are your different experiences and your different opportunities. So that's kind of what it's about, and it's going to go in that. But I'm also working on an Oracle deck, so I'm trying to put together the first Transmigration Oracle deck too. So that'll be a thing as well. Yeah. Well,
I'll scratch that off my question. I was just getting ready to ask you that. If you've thought about doing an Oracle deck, because I won't lie, that will be a purchase of mine, because it's like if it's anything, because I've got one that deals with runes, and you know it's a Viking one, but that one with that kind of Oracle deck, that would be fantastic, because it's just you can spend.
What I'll probably do is I'll probably do one every once in a while. Like I'll probably have to partition off like sets of pieces. I'm going to keep doing these for as long as I can, you know, these pieces. So I'm going to try to maybe do like a section here, do like 60 right here, and then do another 60, whatever, you know.
I mean, you got to check her out on her website and Society 6. But man, I went to her Instagram and there's so many more cool designs. I mean, it's just unreal.
If you stop right there, see the one with the entity on the cliff?
This one.
Yeah.
That one I absolutely love.
It's incredible, the detail in it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, think about it. You know, you have the planet in the upper right. The planet is populated, right? You don't know who lives there. This being probably has some connection with them. But what the being is doing is the being is actually sending out, you know, information to others who may be like that being. You know, it's trying to communicate with others who are, you know, resonating in the same, you know, sort of energy level, or resonating in the same sort of path, or resonating in the same similar sort of experience. But the entity itself is on a cliff, willing to actually do what's necessary to move to the next level. So it's all about standing on the edge, moving forward.
Yeah, that's you go through.
And they're humanoid, right? I mean, I'm using you gotta understand, I'm using this sort of, you know, alien sort of, you know, kind of popular alien sort of structure because it's humanoid and because it's familiar. People are familiar with this sort of structure. And so I'm using it as sort of a symbol for the fact that we as humans, we can elevate ourselves. But I think people don't feel very empowered with how the world is going now. In different countries, depending on which country you're in, you know, you may not feel empowered at all based on what your government is like, or, you know, what the rules are. But, you know, here in the US, we can empower ourselves. We can make some really great change, you know, but it really, you know, we have to use our spiritual beliefs, and we have to use our you know, our momentum and our mental, you know, capacity and our creativity. We have to use that to really sort of move the ball forward, you know, and to be better, you know, we really do.
Well, for me, like your images, it's kind of what you were talking about right there. When I see it, I think everybody can see something about it that they associate with. It's not, there's no male, there's no female, there's no this, there's no that. It's just, it's this image that it basically, it's all encompassing. It's like we said I think it was April in our last show that she said, the soul doesn't have a gender.
Yeah.
It doesn't have it, you know, there's no sex, there's no, it's all the same. I mean, it is this, and for me, that's what I take from this. There is this all-encompassing image of this entity that everybody can associate with, and you can get your own whatever take on it, what you feel. And that's one of the beauties of art. Whenever you see somebody talking around, it's like, I wonder what the artist was feeling in this one. I think this is, you know, and a lot of them ones, you know, you'll get the artist is like, oh, I just liked how it looked. You know, and everybody's got all these deep, elaborate, this must have been what Kamora was feeling. She was feeling this emotional tie. She felt this energy. And she's like, no, I just really like how the colors looked. It was awesome. It was this download, you know, it's just, and everybody else has got these elaborate things in their head, but that's the beauty of art. That's what's so cool.
It's like what Chassie's saying here, you know, it's like, you know, the time of the Great Awakening. Yeah. I mean, I also kind of feel like, though, that, you know, your awakening is a very individuated thing as well. You know, everyone's really on their own path. And I think these battles that we have socially and conditionally, you know, we have these battles that we have these like battles based on sex. We have these battles based on, you know, ideas and ideals. We have these battles based on philosophies. It's like, you don't have to, you really don't have to assume to understand anyone else. I mean, it is good to learn about others because we need to be, you know, we need to understand, we can learn a lot about each other by kind of branching out a little bit, but you really are on your own journey. And you need to be aware of the fact that learning about others, learning to accept others is a part of that journey, no matter who you are. Yeah.
Yeah, as we were talking there, I answered that somebody's like, you butchered the, you know, the name, you wouldn't know how to pronounce it. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. Hopefully I didn't do it too terribly. No. Oh my God. But that was, you know, kind of going back a little bit to your story. And do you still find that that's an ongoing evolving, you know, from where you grew up to where you are now? Or do you kind of feel like you have an idea of the path that you're on and that you know where you're going with this, not something where I'm just waiting to see, you know, as it unfolds, which way ahead?
Well, I mean, you know, I know I'm supposed to be doing art, and I know that the metaphysical art is definitely a part of my path. And because spirituality has always been such a huge part of my life, it would seem that my incarnation has something to do with visually expressing, you know, spirituality through a sort of metaphysical kind of lens. And people are reacting to it. So getting that feedback kind of tells me that I may be on some sort of right path. That being said, I've gone through so many different phases in my life that who knows what's going to happen in 10 years? Who knows if I'll even be here? You know what I mean? So what you have to do is, I think you have to be open. I'm trying to be open to, you know, what the universe has. I'm trying to be open to what God has for me. And I'm trying to be open to how I feel. Lately I've been learning about myself and my boundaries and understanding that I also need to be open to who I'm becoming just as a human being as well, not just as a soul or, you know, as an energy, you know, conduit of the universe or whatever, you know. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but I'm going to keep doing transmigration art. That's just what I'm going to keep doing, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say thank you. Thank you for I love following those. It's now, do you like the astral projection? Have you found that there's like do you have a bit like through meditation? Are you able to do this without the aid, you know, of taking, you know, some edible or something like that? Have you found that you've got this way of through meditation you're able to access this to a point?
Yeah, and like I said, I was saying this a little bit earlier. The thing about it is that astral projection, like I've done that a few times, but it's been more just like it just happened. Like, and what a lot of people talk about, which you'll hear a lot of people talk about, is between sleeping and waking, which is like called the hypnagogic state. You're more susceptible to opening up to different, to being able to sort of detach from your physical body. You'll hear a lot of people talk about hypnagogic state. Even Salvador Dali said that the state between sleeping and waking is where he got a lot of his ideas. So basically, deep meditation kind of gets me there. There's a way that I have of detaching that I feel is more psychological rather than like spiritual per se, but it actually helps me to connect with the energy that I need to draw when I need to draw. Yeah. So I don't actually, like I said, I don't really take edibles. I only take them every once in a while if I need a shifting an experience that's going to shake me to my core and take me into the next paradigm shift.
Awesome.
Other than that, my trance technique is totally sufficient, and that's what I usually do on a daily or weekly basis. Yeah.
That's all. So as your wife, I mean, is she having a constant that, like I said, is she progressing the same way along with you, or is this because you said like you don't? I mean, it's one of the. I was trying to get to the root of it because it's like it's so fascinating to me the way that you two have had this ability to have this experience together. I mean, that you can't ask for a cooler way to go. Have your partner, your spouse, your partner in this life go through this with you on this journey and having the same thing. It's really amazing.
Yeah. So for a while there, she was really resonating with like more pagan beliefs. Like I said, we both come from a very Christian background. So the basis is always going to be somewhat just, soul development in general. Right. So she had sort of like a pagan kind of like thing for a while. Because I was kind of studying, near-death experiences and chakras and stuff like that. I was more just like a cult in general. But yeah, I mean, she has very similar beliefs to me, but she's also kind of interested in Hinduism as well. Sort of karmic structure and sort of karmic development, which that is sort of the basis of like transmigration also. It's this soul development of, you live a life, you die, you plan another life, you go through another one, you go through another one. And it's through that you're able to develop. And maybe at some point in time, you accept the fact that you can stop and just accept the fact that human experiences are just that, or experiences in any other type of creature are just experiences. I really think at this point in time that it's just about the experience and what you get from that.
So when you studied the chakras, did you give up on that, or you find that to be very helpful in your journey as well?
I do find that to be very helpful. And I find that to be very helpful because the degree to which your chakras are aligned are the degree to which you can actually accept change as well. We're always changing, but sometimes you'll find that something's blocked. So like if you're blocking, your throat chakra and your ability to express yourself through your voice, that's going to come out. That's going to be, you're going to be inflamed in some other part of your body. If you're blocking your, sexual organs and you're not expressing yourself with however you do that, that's a part of you. So in religion, when there's such a animosity towards sexuality, that's a part of us, and you need to actually quench yourself in that, however you do it. There's no like particular about that. Your third eye, you need to be open to spiritual ideas, spiritual concepts, especially if you're a spiritual person. Open yourself up a little bit, like see how far you can go. You don't have to break your brain or anything, but you got to be open. Your heart chakra, and how you show love to your friends, how you show, love to your loved ones, and how you're willing to grow by maybe saying I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I could have done better. I'm going to learn more. All these things balance your chakras and can help you to, maybe get to the point where you can actually start getting somewhere in your journey. That's why I think chakras are really important. Yeah.
Definitely, that was very well said. I dabble in chakras. I dabble a lot in Santos, but people are like, people frown upon Santos. Have you looked into that?
I've heard a little bit about that, but I mean, what I'm saying is that whatever your cultural background is, I think you should. I mean, if that's in your blood. So my thing is this: you incarnate into a bloodline, right? And you're not just this soul who hops into a body to have a lifetime. You're hopping into that body and in that bloodline because you want to be able to do things with the soul memory or the soul genetics that come from that bloodline. So it's interesting is my mom always used to tell me that my grandmother, my mom's mom, that she had these visions of like heaven and like the gates of heaven. She used to tell me that my grandmother used to have these visions. And so somebody sent me a DM the other day and they were like, do you have this connection with your grandmother? And I'm like, actually, my mom told me something about that. So it's possible that as a result of my bloodline, that's one of the reasons I'm able to do what I'm able to do, So I think if that's what you have a connection with, definitely you got to chase down the rabbit hole a little bit and see what that brings you, and how that allows you to connect with, you know, consciousness as a whole. For sure, absolutely, yeah.
Well, thank
I
you.
don't know too much about it. I don't know too much about it though. I could probably learn more about it. Yeah.
Yeah, Julie had talked about, you know, it's basically you're doing an emotional body map.
Yeah.
Mapping, and so that's
that's a great way to put it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And for me, it's one of those things through us doing this podcast. We've really gotten that part where I've been opening up a little more to like the spiritual things, because a lot of things like rigid, like, yeah, I'm not sure if I have this, but it's one of those I've been experiencing more, and the more and more I get it, that's what, especially with yourself, that's why I wanted to get you on, because so much, and that's why I said it's been such a disservice for people not to have you on to listen to your story, because that's why I wanted to get you on so desperately.
Well, I'm glad you had me, but I mean, you gotta really, everybody's on their own path. That's what I'm trying to say. And so regardless of whether you're listening to me or you're listening to, you know, Ian Stevenson, or you're listening to Eben Alexander, or any of these other people who are like the big heads in consciousness, right? In the consciousness conversation, you gotta be on your own journey. You have to be open to what that leads to as well. And so I think more people should be doing consciousness art, and more people should be, you know, writing their own gospel, if you will, about, you know, concerning their journey, you know, related to their spiritual focus. I think everyone should be doing this, but it's hard to get people to understand how important that is. Yeah.
And that's I just going through as we're talking, I'm trying to come up with, you know, a couple of different ways to phrase some questions and stuff. It's like, so if anybody else has some things, because I'm like, there's so many different avenues that this goes into, where, especially with you, it's like a lot of people, I grew up the same thing, real rigid ideology. It was this thing. I mean, the stuff that we're talking about right now this is that taboo. This is, you are going to hell if you progress this thing. And it's one of those, and that's the beauty of having people on, is you realize these rigid boxes that we put ourselves in is part of the problem. Just having conversations like we have, you realize that it doesn't matter what difference that we have on different little things here and there. We realize we're people that have so much in common. We have a great conversation. I mean, this is one I have such an easy time talking with you. It's at the same time, and you realize this is how it should be. This is this type of stuff that we should be doing, having these conversations, and not letting those that are above us tell us how we should be talking, what we should be talking about, and realize, they don't matter. Let's, just block them out.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that, what I find, just through a lot of the people I've known, is that, you may come from a Christian background, you may come from a Mormon background, or you may come from a Catholic background, and that just may be all you know until someone says, hey, you're missing out on an opportunity by learning about this other thing over here. And if that person's willing to go out and kind of look and dabble a little bit, they may find that they actually resonate more with that. And what you have nowadays is, like with, in some of the Black communities, what you have is a lot of Black folks that are kind of dabbling in some of the old African spiritual, rites as well. And they feel a connection to that because it may be because of their bloodline, it may be because of where they come from, but there's some Black folks that feel a connection with some of the, African traditional spiritual, focuses as well. And that's kind of interesting because, if someone didn't come to you and say, hey, have you thought about this? Maybe you wouldn't see it as something that could be relevant to you, So I think it's important to be open and to understand that people are manipulative. A lot of people are manipulative, and a lot of people just want to, see if they can get you to do what they can to get you under their foot so they can, push you around. I mean, some people are like that. So I don't know. It is what it is,
Yeah, that's, so where I'm just trying to, it was one of the questions, I just had it in my head and it just failed me. But you guys asked a question right here while I try to reformulate that one. It's like I had it and then I lost it.
Yeah, well, Harlan had a question a while back. Do you think we're beyond the fifth dimension?
So I don't really know how to answer that question. What I can say is this, though. I do believe that humans have come a long way. Human souls have come a long way. I think that technology is a part of that. I think that cultural development is a part of that. But I still genuinely believe that each person is on their own journey. And I believe that how one interfaces with higher consciousness is not the way that another is going to interface with higher consciousness. And I think it is important to not lump people together and assume that everyone's on the same level, because we're not. There are, in some cases, younger souls that are incarnating, and then there are very old souls that are incarnating at any given time. But what you also have to understand is that if simulation, so let's say like simulation theory is true, right? Then that would mean that there's a programmer or designer or something, and that would mean that the designer could potentially see everything from a nonlinear point of view. So when you're incarnating into Earth, let's say Earth, you're born in, let's say 2005 or something like that. Who's to say, if simulation theory is true, or if multiverse concepts are true, who's to say that you would even be able to have access to like what you and I are doing right now, right? You could be in a completely different sort of dimension, forget fifth dimension per se. You could be in a completely different space that is some other sort of program somewhere else. And so I think it's important to understand that when you're talking about spiritual concepts, we could literally not understand this idea that the video game that I'm playing is not the same video game you're playing, or the video game I'm playing is version 5 versus you're playing version 1. And I don't hear a lot of people talking about that, I could literally, what I could be seeing and the way that my brain could be processing the information is not the way that your brain could be processing it. That's just some of the things that, you learn about in philosophy, just studying basic philosophy as well.
Yeah, I don't know, Caroline, what she just put there. She goes, I'm really glad to have you as a guest, because there's a lot of people in the community that aren't as open-minded as you. And that's one thing that I really enjoy. I kind of the open part too. I want to say, like, I was comfortable talking about it because in the previous interviews, you've been open about you and your wife. And, I said, I didn't want to be the one like, oh, by the way, she's got a wife. And then it's like, oh, well, I guess it's out now. So it's like, you'd already talked about it. So I'm like, okay, I'm safe. I could actually say this, so, and that's, and that's part from even just the messaging back and forth, getting ready for the show. It was just, I really like the fact that, I felt like there was a connection to where this wasn't just some business agreement, like, oh, hey, come on the show. It was one, I was really happy that you were excited to be on, and I was excited to get you on the show, just because this is something that needs to be talked about. And it's really fantastic. I like your work. There was a comment a while ago, which I think it was, I'm going to butcher the name again. What do we say? It's Flo? Is that how we shorten it so I don't butcher it? She had on there about that your work is really ancestral, and it really has that feel. Kind of, I mentioned the Akashic record, but it has that feel like you're tapping in to something that's giving you this the information, and it's coming with this, and you're putting it amazingly beautifully on paper and on digital work. And so
if I can, and if I can interrupt you for a minute.
Please.
The energy that's in the art. So you notice how the art has a certain look to it. So each piece has a certain look, and it does feel very ancestral. It does feel very sort of otherworldly. What I try to explain to people, like when I'm talking in DMs or whatever, is that I was able to connect with that sort of look through the experiences that I had, but also when I had my first experience, and through some of the dreams that I've had, because I've always had lucid dreams as well, there's a certain type of energy that I'm connected to. It feels electric. It feels consuming. It feels like this space of like past, present, and future all combined at the same time. And it's very cosmic, but it's also very electric. It's also very energetic. And it took me a long time to be able to put that into, to visualize that sort of resonance, if you will. And I feel like I've got to the point to where it's there. But it's definitely something that I feel kind of came to me, and I don't see a lot of people doing it that way. So I know it's something that I'm supposed to do because it has a very sort of unique connection with me and with other people around. When people say ancestral, I'm like, okay, cool. It seems like it's coming out the right way. Yeah.
So and your pieces too, because some have a single entity, and then some have two, and then there's three. Do you feel like there's a certain dynamic between those two? Are you feeling more of like, this is like an individual, a watcher, say, some like a guide, where this is more like when you have the three, are you feeling more like that ancestral, like a family, like somebody's trying to give this as a group?
Yeah. So there's this one called Triadic that I did early on. It's one of the parchment looking pieces that I did early on in the alien pieces.
I find that real
and it's got like three faces on it. And what I was trying to sort of express is that, you know, yeah, familially, you know, we have this connection between each other, but, you know, relative to what sort of state of consciousness you're on, you know, say you are connected to like this fourth dimensional energy or fifth dimensional energy. If the other people that you're connecting with are on that same sort of wavelength or connecting with those same sort of nodal energetic structures, you know, you can really kind of get somewhere creatively. You can really kind of get somewhere by kind of vibing off of each other, if you will. Yeah, absolutely. And some of these are trying to instruct my viewers and myself as well, because when I draw these, it's sort of like I'm channeling, but also, you know, I'm drawing it. So, you know, it's kind of me, but kind of not. It's sort of like, hey, what if you were vibrating at this level? Yeah. You know, what if you were, yeah. I mean,
you have this piece
really cool.
Yeah, this I was bringing it up because it was just right as you said it. That's when I found that one where you're like a guide and stuff. And here's this piece you did. It's like the instructor. It's like, and that's why I was kind of wondering if there was one of those things like you're feeling as you're sitting there. I'm trying to put myself kind of what it must be like, you know, as you're getting this information. Do you feel like there's multiple sometimes, and that's why you go with the 3? You go with the almost like the duos, or is it just you feel like a really stronger one, and that's where you go with like something like this, the instructor, where it's a single one, which obviously is more of the teacher with the open book trying to share this information.
Well, it's interesting. Chassis here is asking about Dolores Cannon, and Dolores Cannon's work is really, really cool. I do feel kind of a connection with her work. I think some people are a little more connected with her. When it comes to the individual, my wife left a comment. There we go.
Yeah.
When it comes to the individual, it just really depends on what it is. What will generally happen when I'm drawing a piece is I'll get this thing inside of me that says, okay, you need to do something about this, or one of my experiences will actually influence, you know, what the next piece needs to be. And what I'll do sometimes is I'll just do a little sketch on paper, little really shorthand, super rough. And then some other times it's like something happens and it's like, you need to do this. And it's almost like a person is just here, just like saying to me, you need to do this, but not in a sort of voice-like kind of way, in more of a interpenetrated, like part of me saying, this is the energy right now. You need to do this. It needs to be one individual talking about, you know, in sort of an instructorly kind of pose, or in sort of a triune pose, or in sort of a relationship kind of pose where they're connecting. And so I can say that there's one component of it that's like the general idea of this is the topic. And then there's another component that's like, okay, it needs to be 2 people. And there's another component that's like, okay, they're sharing energy through their third eye. And there's another component that's like, okay, they're going to be sharing energy through their whole body, or they're going to be sharing an idea in the middle between them. And so the light language is going to be connecting with it. And so there's these different components to, yeah, this is a good example right here. Where if you look at the right entity has very curvilinear lines inside the body, and the left entity has more angular energy inside the body. And so between those 2 different modalities, they come to this Metatronic, sort of connection by unifying those 2 modalities, they're able to actually get to a higher level of consciousness.
That's really cool.
And that's kind of how I see relationships. So together they are like one unit, basically. And that's how good relationships are, you know?
And in a way, it's almost, I said, just to me, as you're describing that too, I mean, in a way, it's almost like what you and your wife had. You guys, like, this would be a shared experience, but you both have 2 completely separate, different things to base, you know, how to interpret that thing, but you're coming together in what where it is bound. And I said, and that's where I look at this stuff, and it's just, you can see, and it's really well illustrated in this picture. I said,
thank you. And that's kind of how our relationship is too. We do have some differences, you know, as far as how we see different things and the roles we sort of play in each other's lives. But, you know, one of the you know, like, you know, 12 years is nothing to, you know, laugh about. It's, you know, there's something about relationships where there is compromise, but also there's this idea of how far are you willing to go to learn about another person? How far are you willing to go to connect with this other person, even in a coworker level? You know, like, how far are you willing to go to see what it would take to get to the next level with this individual? or group of individuals. And sometimes things break down when you're not willing to go to that extra level and see, you know, what other connections you have, or build new energetic connections between each other on whatever kind of the relationship it is. Yeah, go ahead.
One that's kind of like that is I didn't even see what you titled this one. I'm like, to me, this one, I just feel like this one, you know, this is helping each other out. Like, you know, you're there supporting. Then I look up and say encourage. I'm like, of course it's named Encourage. I'm like, that's exactly
you guys, it's like, you know, it's like your show that you have. You guys are really amazing, you know, because I mean, you have such a broad range of interests, you know, on your show. And, you know, when I started just checking out some of the different episodes, it's really inspiring, you know, and I can tell, you know, I don't know y'all personally, but, you know, y'all have, you know, all have some different backgrounds, and that's how we are in the world, right? I mean, when you come, you know, work with some people, you know, you don't know where they're from, you don't know what they're like. You'll learn really quick once you work with them on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But whether you're willing to learn, but, you know, the people that we're around mirror us. And so you're going to learn something about yourself as well, you know, just by your willingness or unwillingness to work with others. Yeah.
And that we kind of branched out. Like when we started this thing, it was all, we were going to sports and just kind of screw around, just talk about random stuff. And then we just kind of branched off, and then we started doing some stuff. And I've always envisioned, for me, like for the show, have on the guests that nobody else is getting, the ones that people can't find, the stories people can't locate. And what a better way to embody that than have you on? Because this is somebody where, I mean, I love the fact that you were so willing to come on, and the fact, you know, just looking up the clock. It's hard to believe it's already been 50 minutes just sitting there talking.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, on paper, you're looking at it. Okay, so how are we going to make a big show out of just talking about her work and stuff? And you realize there's so much stuff to communicate, and you do. And I think you honestly are sharing that gift that both you and your wife experienced, and your gift in artistry, and you're able to translate that to where people get it and they can actually feel a connection with what you guys are experiencing through each piece that you put out there. And it's amazing.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, but this is, you asked me about my path. This is one of the things that I've always felt kind of led to do. And I'm glad to see it materializing, but I'm also glad people connect with it. And I'm one of many, like many people are doing this in many different ways. And I think it's important to, you know, for those who are interested in sharing their, you know, their journey, their spiritual journey, whatever kind of journey it is, to, you know, put it out there. You know, somebody's going to connect with it. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'd love to hear you say that too, because there's so many people in different genres that are so, this is mine, you know, and they don't want to support anybody, where you only make things better when you prop everybody up. Because it's, you know, just in the art community, just because I absolutely love this picture doesn't mean that Austin and Chris are. But it's the same thing, if you know that Austin is going to have a connection with this friend of yours that you know that kind of does the same thing, he's going to fall in love with it. You haven't, it's not like you've messed yourself, you know, like, you're like, man, why did you, you know, lose out on that? You should have just done something. It's like, that's not how this works. It's like, we're trying to build a community and not just a group of individuals. I mean, I love it. I mean, I love getting these connections that we have with everybody. I mean, it's just, I couldn't have envisioned having this conversation a year ago, and I'm glad we are where we are. So really quick, my wife is asking a question, which I think she would have asked if she was on here too. It's, you know, how do I express my gender, sexual, and racial identity in art? Well, you said something earlier about how the beings are sort of genderless. The thing about being out as trans is, like, you know, so many people have so many different ideas. You know, all different trans people have different ideas about why they're out and what that means. I really think of humans' souls as number one, being genderless, but I also think of, you know, human souls as being identities within themselves. And I think it's important to understand that, like, it really has nothing to do with how the person looks or how they choose to express their look, you know, visually or otherwise. It really does come down to who the individual is at their core. And I think the more we can understand this, I think the better we can be at maybe selecting better leaders for ourselves. If we continue to do that, you know, maybe there's a better way we could do that in society. Maybe there's a better system we could create. And so as far as I'm concerned, you know, yeah, I mean, I was born male, but, you know, and I still identify with parts of myself that are that, but I express myself in this way, whatever this is.
And I think everyone should be open to however they want to look. You want to have like a cool beard like you guys have, you should have like a super cool beard, you know, like that's powerful. I think that's powerful. You know, yeah. And so for me, it's, you know, you're a human for like this very linear amount of time. So like, why wouldn't you express yourself in the way that you want to express yourself, in the way that you feel you need to express yourself? I mean, it is a part of you. It is important. When people say it isn't, I think they're missing the point of customizing your ride, you know, customizing your body. I think that's cool. I mean, why do you get tattoos? You know, you put stuff on your body you resonate with. And so it's no different with gender identity. You express yourself the way you need to. Yeah. Yeah,
and I really appreciate you, you know, talking about that. You know, it's what I've always, this is kind of new ground for me. So I've always, you know, especially when you're talking about somebody's personal journey, it's like, that's not something that you just randomly throw out there. So tell me about your personal life. It's hard because it's everybody, you don't know where the boundaries are. You don't know where somebody's really comfortable talking. And so, you know, I just thank you for sharing that. That's really amazing.
You're welcome. I just hope more people take it to heart, you know, seriously, for themselves. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And I agree. Cause I think too many people are caught up on these narrow focus things, and they just get so caught on it. And you miss out on a lot of people have amazing stories, amazing interactions, but so many people are caught up on one little aspect, and then they're just like, nope.
Yeah.
And
you don't know anything about this person, but you could learn so much if you just took a little bit of time. Just a little bit of time. Yeah.
Yeah. What's that saying? You learn so much more by using these than you do this.
Yep.
You know, it says the guy that was filibustering, and I had to have my guest break in. Oh, that's awesome. Amazing. Wow. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, there's the community. There's a lot of people here. Like as I've been listening to the comments, there's a lot of people that we've introduced your art to them and that they've never seen before. And that was my goal. As this thing, it's not about us three bearded guys. You know, that's what I like doing about the show is it's our show, but I want people to come here and learn what is the story of Kamora Jones, you know, and, you know, Violet, you know, what have you guys experienced? What have you done? This is your saying, you know, so it's broadcasting you, it's showcasing you. So that way people can go and experience, you know, see what you've done and get to know you as a person, not only as a person, as your art, you know, and get this out there. And that's, so far, it seems like we're pulling that off, which, you know.
Yeah. I'm very thankful. Yeah. I'm very thankful. Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you too, Chassie. You're amazing.
Yeah. It's looking at, you know, everybody, it's like we talked about in the beginning, but, you know, do this here too, you know, go to society6.com/Artsoldier77 or go to Artsoldier77.com, you know, and see her work here too. Instagram, Artsoldier77. So while we're on that, I know in the interview, I think you talked about you know, people think soldier is in like fighter, warrior, and if I remember what you described it, it's more of like the soldiering on, like you're on the journey.
Yeah. I think of it as, so because it's Art Soldier, which I didn't originally make up that name. I found it came to me, Art Soldier, and then I found that somebody, like 18 other people had used it. But I like the idea of being a soldier of art or a soldier of creativity, basically. I think that creativity is how we move forward, you know, with technology, creativity with science, creativity with art, whatever. Yeah.
It's really cool. Is it just Society 6? Is that the only place that people in your site, is that the only place people can get your stuff?
So I sell the shirts on Teespring. So they just changed it to Creator Spring. So if you just go to Teespring and, you know, it's like Artsoldier77 and it's creatorspring.com basically. So definitely go buy some shirts. I mean, the shirts are actually more popular than the prints are. You know, people like world art nowadays. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get more prints out. It takes me a while. Sometimes when I post, I'll post like a work in progress where it's not completely cleaned up yet. And so that's why it takes a while to, you know, get the prints out. And then I'm trying to post more shirts too. So over time, it's going to get a little bit better. Here's one of the all over t-shirts.
Oh, that's cool.
See this? Cool. Yeah, it's kind of cool. You know, on the back there's a completely different image as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you can get those on Teespring on my Artsoldier77, which on my Instagram or on my Facebook Artsoldier77, there are links to those there as well. Yeah. So there you go.
And that's cool. That's cool. That's
Here's this.
I like that one.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I've got a lot of the most popular ones like on Teespring as well. You know, not as many as Society 6, but yeah. So Society 6 and Teespring right now are the main places. I might offer some other things through some other different venues as well. Like whenever the Oracle card deck gets done, there's a service that I'm looking at where you'd be able to go and buy the Oracle cards from there. And whenever the coffee table book comes out, I'll have another service for that as well. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and so everybody, just to show, I mean, you've got stickers, you know, you've got the prints. I mean, you just go through, and there's pillows. So if you need the throw pillow, that's awesome. And that's, wall clock. I just noticed that. Yeah, so you've got quite a few different things. But yeah, I like these framed art prints too. Those are really nice.
I'm gonna see if I can get the. Let's see here. Teespring.
What if we get you back on for another show? Yeah, we'll have to do, like Violet said, we'll have to have you do a live on air drawing as you're talking to us.
Heck yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, yeah. Just have you right over there showing it. Just real creations. Turn Austin into one of your entities. That'd be awesome. We'd post that up there. Because it's always got to be you. That's the running joke of the show. It has to be you all the time.
Fucking gingers.
Copy link. I'll see if I can actually put this in here so you guys can see it. Oh, that's not it.
So everybody, go there, check out this stuff. I said Instagram. If you go on Instagram, follow at Artsoldier77. You'll see these images. It's one of those. We've talked about it. If you've never done it before, but once you see them, blows you away. Yeah,
I appreciate it. It's once again, read the writings that I post with each one of the pieces. Those are in quotes because it's basically like the beings in the pieces. That's basically what they're trying to tell the viewer. So definitely read the description, so you can actually see what each of the pieces is about. Sometimes I get a little more poetic. Sometimes I get a little more conceptual with the writings.
I agree. I agree. I would not turn away if she came up with one with the three of us, like I said, and came up with some story.
If she did that, I would get it tattooed immediately.
Yep. That would be our YouTube banner. I'm just saying.
I have an idea for it. It just popped into my head. I have an idea for it.
That might be our YouTube banner. I'd just say that could just be instantly nailed it. Yeah. So, but
there's the Teespring on the bottom right there. That just popped up.
Yep.
That's
awesome. Yeah. So everybody, it's artsoldier77.creator-spring.com to go in there for those. Please, everybody, check those out. I wanted to before for people that are watching, I wanted to show this picture too because it kind of shows a little bit. It's off of it was on that mysoulrenity.com that where they did an interview for it. I saw this one, and this kind of shows, where you think that's one you called Akashic
eye. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And so that was a pencil drawing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was a pencil drawing that I did quite some time back. And so photorealism, I actually learned a lot about photorealism when I was in high school. I went to an art school out here called Las Vegas Academy when I was in high school, and it was like the premier. That's like the art school you go to if you're a hardcore young artist when you're in high school. And that piece is interesting because what I tried to add different components of how one could think about consciousness and how the mind might be processing all those different types of information that have to do with how the soul travels through different dimensions to get to each experience. And so if you look at the point to where the third eye would be, right in front of the head, not on the inside.
Right there. Yep.
You can kind of see that. Yeah, not the Merkaba, but yeah, on the front there. Yeah, you can kind of see that each of those rays is representing a different type of energy or a different type of dimension that the mind could connect to. But what I like to think is that on any given day or on any given moment, we're connecting with different types of energies that, may allow us to go down this road or that road as far as our, perception is concerned. And then, these different worlds that we can connect to as creative individuals. I'm trying to express that in there as well, and how those thoughts intertwine and sort of interpenetrate us, every moment of every second of every day. It's like a map. It's like a map of that sort of, what that would look like. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize for that. I was just gonna say too, as you were talking about it too. I always butcher the name. It's the gland. It's just pineal. I think it's it just pineal. It looks like the inner geometric shape you have is almost centered, almost exactly where that's at. In connection. And was that intentional, or was that just something that happened?
Oh no, that's intentional. Totally.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I like this idea of sort of playing with the idea of what, how does the pineal gland interact with these different energies that are going in and coming out of it, And so as an artist, the cool thing you can do is you can sort of play with those different shapes, play with those geometric structures, play with, what a certain type of energy would look like flowing through it. And so that's the power of visual art, is that you can kind of say what like a writer can't say, or you can kind of say what a musician can't say. And I believe that my mission, like as a metaphysical artist, is to sort of find the language of consciousness through sort of lines and curves and shapes and structures. I think that's one of my missions. That's kind of what I think. I don't know. That's kind of what I got so far. That's where I'm at so far.
I really like that description, metaphysical artist. I mean, that really sums up the way, these things come across. And I've always liked getting those, that kind of art like you just did. I really like those ones where it's almost a cerebral type thing where it causes you to think and look. It's not just it's all right here for you. I like those hidden things to where it's in your face, but it takes you to, if you actually study it, like you said, the third eye, the rays are coming off of it. You have that geometric shape right where the gland would be located, right in the center of the head. And it's really cool the way that's done.
And think about too, one of the things I don't hear, spiritual people talking about, those who are more like into sort of like the mechanics of how the universe or how the cosmos might work. If your spirit guides had some sort of system that they used, to help you facilitate these experiences and to sort of watch your progress, and if you as a soul could connect back, with core space, where you choose where you're going to go next, what would that system actually look like? And so when you look at something like Akashic Eye, that's sort of showing, there are a couple of really awesome psychedelic pieces that I can't remember the artists, but there are a couple of really great psychedelic pieces where, you'll see these different components, these different buttons and these different mechanisms of, what if, I hit this button, where would it allow me to go and what would it allow me to connect to? There's also the idea of with near-death experiences and people having a life review. Some people say that that's a very multidimensional sort of experience where they're not just seeing one aspect of their life, they're actually seeing their whole expanded experience, like all in one, like huge, matrix graph, and they can go into any component of their lifetime. And so one of the things I don't hear a lot of people in the metaphysical community talking about, or metaphysical artists talking about, is, what are the components of the universe? What are the controls of the universe? What do they look like? What do my controls look like versus what your controls look like? So I'm kind of interested in portraying that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I was just, as you were saying that, I was just trying to think. It's like if I was, just pinned down and they said, you must describe this, I'm not quite sure how I would describe those controls. Like you said, how the framework of that, I really don't know. I mean, I think I'd probably be more leaning towards like a matrix style. Like you just see the stuff floating above the head, but me being kind of the way I am, it's probably more like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, in the TV room thing. It's just random colors. Nothing so organized.
Yeah, and what's wrong with that? I mean, I think, I really believe, because people are having these near-death experiences and such, there's so many people having experiences now through psychedelics or through dying, on the operating table or whatever. And some people are having these very religious experiences, but other people are having very sort of like just general cosmic experiences. And some people are seeing this, and some people are seeing light, and some people are seeing, these extraterrestrial beings, and some people are seeing light beings. And so that tells me that there's a component of these our souls and our individuated experiences that are very much related to who we are as individuals. They're very much tied to like what's in my mind versus what's in your mind. You may be a very religious person, so of course you're going to see Jesus, but I may only see light beings and light and energy, you know?
Do you ever feel like you're getting information from, because we talked about astral projection. Do you ever feel like you're getting information from somebody else? Not saying like an ancestor, but somebody like might be from that's trying to get in touch with you. Like, I want my story told before I go.
Yeah, so there have been plenty of times when I've awoken out of dreams where I felt like someone was walking away from me. Like they had their hand on my head, and they were feeding the information into me, and then they're walking away like as I wake up. I've had plenty of experiences like that.
Wow.
Throughout my life. Yeah.
And
there are other experiences where I can feel energies in different parts of my body. Like there's someone behind me kind of feeding into me, whatever. Yeah, like angels or goddesses or something like that. But I think, when you're thinking about light beings, I was just going to say that. When you're thinking about light beings, if you think about Christ, Christ could be a light being. Buddha could be a light being. Like, souls that don't, there are souls that don't incarnate. There are spirits that don't incarnate and that don't know what the human experience is like. And when you're talking about the idea of a spirit guide, a spirit guide could just be a light being who's feeding you information so you know what to do next. You never know. Yeah. But yes, absolutely. I do feel like I'm getting the feed. So when you see the energy kind of flowing down into the heads of some of the beings, that some of that's just personal, what I feel like, how it works for me sometimes. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's okay, because I was just thinking it's just be one of those like somebody that's on their deathbed, like you're saying, is seeing everything downloaded, and they're just like an last ditch thing. They make a connection with you, and it's like, and that's where I've wondered if you've ever had something like a piece that I'm coming up with. It's unlike anything I've ever done before. I don't know if you've had that where it's just like, this doesn't fit my normal thing. So this is obviously, I got this from somebody else. This isn't something connected personally to me. It's like a stranger.
Yeah, and so like when you look at my website, which is actually old at this point, so the Artsoldier77 website was more of like a portfolio website that I did, which combines a lot of different things that I've done, like professionally and otherwise. There's different modes is the way I think about it. There's some different modes. So if you look at on my website, there's a thing called it's surreal meditations is the name of the series. There's one of the tabs that you click on, and some of those pieces were not me really. They were very kind of different types of energy, and it really depends. Some of this is dependent on where you are in life. So yeah, if you click on the one that says surreal meditations.
I'll get back to it. Every now and then it just trips out. I don't know why it does that. It's like, it's like, apologize if anybody's prone to epilepsy. We just send a bunch of people off into. So, you would say which tab did you?
So that one right there. Yeah. Click on that one. Yeah. And then if you go to the one all the way on the bottom to the right, constructivistic. So this is interesting really because, so this is interesting because it's definitely more abstract expressionist. But it also has structure to it. It isn't something that is just, color on the palette or, color spread across the canvas. It's definitely got some sort of environmental kind of feel to it. But when I did this piece, I felt like it was like whoever, the universe, my spirit guides or whatever, trying to tell me that based on the dimension you're in or the reality frame that you're in at any given time, right now we're in this 3-dimensional reality frame where we're humans. But, maybe there's some other sort of life you could be in somewhere else where the reality frame you're in is constantly moving and constantly evolving and ebbing and flowing. So, what would you as an entity look like in that sort of a dimension? And in this case, this light being in the middle here, this yellow construct is a being in that dimension. So I also think it's important for spiritual people to kind of think about the idea that a human is just one type of experience. A horse is another type of experience. A snake is another type of experience. A fish is another type of experience. And in some other dimension somewhere, you could just be an energy, a little light thing, and that's what that piece is about. So I feel like that's pretty different from a lot of the things I've done. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
The detail. I keep saying the detail, but it's just amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like I said, look at the time here. We got to wrap it up here. I said, wait, so we can keep talking, but I won't lie. I'm actually still all excited. I'm waking up. Wake up one of these days, and we're going to have this message from Kamora. It's like here, I got something for you. Where you're like, oh my God, we have our own little personal Kamora Jones on our page. Yes.
As soon as she sends it, I'll book a thing, probably a few months out, but I'll do it.
Yeah, let me see what I can do with that. Yeah, I'll see.
Awesome. Well, it's one, thank you to Violet for sharing you with us tonight.
Yeah,
like I said, we really appreciate that. It's been fantastic. Everybody, society6.com/Artsoldier77. Go there, buy her stuff, support her, tell her, thank you for coming on. Artsoldier77.com. You can see some of these images we've been talking about, but definitely Instagram, go there, follow her, look at these pictures. Like I said, do that, break up each picture, read the descriptions. It'll talk about that. Yeah. Yeah,
She's super silly. She's super silly. Yeah. I'm gonna try to grab next time you have me on again, and when you have me on again, I'm gonna pull her on. She's gonna have to be on here next time. Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna have to come back. I talked about your episode all week, and I had some unexpected guests ring my doorbell, and I'm sorry I couldn't be on tonight, but
it's okay.
I caught you. I listened, but you have to come back so I can entertain. I talked about your show all week. Like, yeah, she's coming on. Yeah, I was excited, but the doorbell rings, and my brother, who don't never come by, and my parents, so I had to stop. But I apologize.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for just having me. I just really appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Well, it's been our pleasure. I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic talking with you, and you guys have an amazing story, and I'm glad we were able to give you an avenue to talk about that and actually get that out to more people, because it's definitely a story that needs to be shared. And thank you again for sharing that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate. Thanks for having me. You guys rock. Keep the shows going.
Awesome.
And hope you get more. Hope you get more subscribers.
Yeah. Appreciate it. We won't turn them away. We'll take good care of them. Yeah. So we'll tell Violet again. Thank you for sharing you with us. For this evening. Let you guys get out there. It's getting close to dinner time, if not past dinner time there in Vegas. So it's getting close to our bedtime, being on the East Coast. Yeah. So everybody,
sounds great.
Go check her out, please. Go subscribe. Go support her. Pick up a print, pick up something. So, Kamora, thank you again. Have a great night.
Blessings. See you later.
Everybody, this has been brought to you by Nanny Cakes, Nancy Burt. They're at Nanny Cakes 407. Go check her out. Mention the Three Beards podcast, and she's going to save 15% on that cake order here in the Central Florida area, which is fantastic. Go to threebeardspodcast.com. Check that out. We need to revamp our site as well. It's getting a little aged. I agree completely. That's YouTube. We've got YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We've got a few videos on there. I don't know. It's three bearded guys trying to play on TikTok. It's weird. Yeah, I'm not doing any of those singing videos. It's not going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, you will, Craig. Yeah, you will.
All right. If it's like, all right, maybe. So we're rebroadcast on the Patriot Radio, Xeno Radio app. Download that, courtesy of JJ Beard Company in New Jersey. Go jjbeardco.com. Thank them for being willing to put us on there. Everybody, thank you for watching. Kamora Jones, I can't thank you enough for coming on this show. That was fantastic. Everybody, please go support her. She has a fantastic story. They're an amazing couple. Love talking with them, and just please go check out her work. Everybody, thank you for watching. We will be back next week with a couple of another shows. This is fantastic.